So the first thing that I saw, that's actually kind of a pre-NAMM thing. We noticed that a lot of the news that happened were kind of already launching before NAMM because people are trying to be first, companies are trying to be first and whatnot. So the first thing that I saw is that Solar guitars. You're probably familiar with Solar guitars, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So so they are expanding their European production, which I think is a great thing. Until now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, either their stuff was produced in Indonesia or in Korea. I'm not 100% sure. It might be Korea. And now they're moving towards expanding their European production, which I think is great. And it kind of there is a trend, a certain trend to kind of not fully go away from production overseas, but at least to take some part back and maybe have more control and have a grip on maintaining the quality and all of these things. So
Well,
what do you think?
Interesting. Because,
what do you think of Solar guitars in general?
Well, I'm more, I wouldn't say traditionalist. I'm just used to the classic guitar models, but there's a part of me that's really interested in more ergonomic, stylized type of guitars. And I find that Solar has that kind of look to it. It looks sleek, kind of like a fast car kind of thing, if you will. And
it does.
I would love to play one, but I haven't managed to actually get my hands on one. So I'm wondering about what does the neck feel like? What does the guitar sound like? What kind of vibe do you get from it? Is it just like a one-trick pony? It just does the hard rock and metal thing? Or is it a little more versatile? So that's what I would be interested in, because typically the guitars I have are more I guess you could say dad rock, if you will. But I used to be into pointy guitars and more metal stuff. Played Schecter guitars for quite a while. So this has me really interested. But I know that when these guys started out, they were produced overseas. And since it looks like they're trying to bring it back to Europe and get it made over here, might be telling as to why they're doing this. They're doing this because they want to give more value, or at least perceived value, for Solar guitar. Instead of thinking about it just kind of those overseas made guitars, these now are made in Europe. They're wanting to change the branding around it. I think that's interesting because we need more instruments that are made where the let's say Ola is in Sweden. So we need more guitars that are made in the EU, instead of just making them overseas, because there's already companies over there from China and other countries that are making their guitars there. So if you're from, let's say, Canada, why not make your guitars in Canada? Well, if you make them overseas, usually the cost is way lower. You're not the ones making them. You're just paying a company to make the guitars for you. So when you bring the guitars back to you, you have more control over the quality of the instrument.
Yeah.
Because my understanding is that a lot of companies like Chapman, originally Chapman were made in England, but then they started making them overseas, and Rob Chapman had to go overseas to check the quality control, and then they were sent back to him. He had to check it and approve. It seems like a more tedious way of making guitars. When they're made where you live, you can just step into the factory, check them out, and go back home. It doesn't cost you thousands of dollars to go overseas to check out the quality control on the products you want to sell.
Yeah.
So
100%.
That's kind of my view on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. What I see here and there is people complaining about quality control issues with the instruments that they receive. And I just know two things. I know that Ola is traveling from time to time to check on the quality of the instruments. Obviously not all of the instruments, because if he goes to check personally on hundreds of instruments, then that wouldn't be a good use of his time. but I know that he goes to the factory now and then to check on things. Then their kind of European headquarters, as far as like the shipping and the quality control and eventual customer issues goes, is in the north of Spain. So it's in Catalonia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's where he travels and connects that with a holiday, with a vacation here and there, and also like checks on how things are going there. And what I notice is that when you go to the Solar Guitars website and you check the different sections, the different product sections, there's always a section with B stock. So it seems like however many instruments they order, there's always a couple that need to they kind of fall short, and they need to check on the issues, point the issues out, and then obviously sell them for a cheaper price. That's obviously not happening if you have an instrument that's built in Europe. It would be interesting to know who builds them. I have kind of an idea where they might come from, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm just gonna say they might come from the Czech Republic, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I see.
I'll guess we'll find out.